What is up, everybody? Welcome back to this episode of the Road to Redemption podcast. It's been working out so well that you guys are thumbs up in the video right there in the beginning. Hit that for me. Hit the subscription button. That way it'll turn gray. Then you won't have to see it red and in your face anymore. Hit the subscribe button. You'll see videos when we, put them up on the day. If you want to see them as soon as I drop them, hit the little bell. It'll tell you when we go live. I'm, as always, your grateful host, Cam Williamson, and we are back. Day 14, Amber Heard has taken the stand, and we're going to get to it. But first, we got to get back to the forensic psychologist, Dr. Hughes. Dr. Hughes was terrible. She was the sexist, biased expert witness that Amber Heard's team put on, first witness out the gate in her case in chief. We talked about it yesterday, talked about how she claimed to all abusers as he and all victims as her, and said things like men are the abusers and women are, they coy away and they run and stuff like this, trying to imply that every piece of evidence we'd seen thus far was false, that we just didn't see it. In a sense, gaslighting not only the jury, the people of the courtroom, but also everyone watching, because they're trying to imply that everything you've just seen with your own eyes as evidence was false. Most people didn't like that. They tried to walk it back a little bit today, saying like, oh, again, couldn't men be, victims of IPL, interpersonal relationship violence, or whatever they called it? Essentially what this lady did is she went, well, a lot of people do on the internet, she went and she gathered a bunch of statistics that back up the narrative she's going to try to sell, and she just spewed them with no real fact-checking or research being able to be done, because stats are what they are. They're skewed, they're flawed, and she said things like, well, majority of the time men do abuse women. Well, we also know majority of the time men don't report when they feel that they've been had violence against them for women. So everything about Dr. Hughes' testimony seemed disrespectful, seemed disingenuous, seemed forced, and honestly just seemed wrong, seemed very immoral, seemed like anyone who had a genuine interest in helping people grow their lives after trauma and after abuse. She seemed quite biased for someone who seemingly wanted to help the world. But we're past Dr. Hughes because Johnny Depp's team did a terrible job, in my opinion, of Cross. I thought it was quite funny. I've thought that Ben Chu looked like Fix-It Felix from Wreck-It Ralph for quite some time, but when he gets irritated, he turns beet red, and his nose gets a little more, bulbous in the front, and he gets red, and his face starts to kind of do this, and every time he looks like Fix-It Felix. He was not doing the cross, which I was disappointed about. I thought for sure he was going to do it. He did not. The older gentleman on the defense team did, and he just did not do very well. He didn't hammer down on the fact that she was being clearly sexist and being biased, and a lot of us wanted him to do that. He was letting her talk and give a lot of context in places where everyone watching the stream that I saw during the live chat was screaming like, please stop him from doing this. Please cut her off. I think the reason he didn't cut her off is because he's a male attorney in a defamation case about domestic violence and domestic abuse and male aggression, and she is so clearly this feminist-leaning expert witness, I say quote unquote. I think he was just letting her speak. I think he knew she was so full of crap, she was going to talk herself into circles and lies, which she clearly did. He didn't need to be Elaine or Rottenborn, where he was going to be like, I told you to stop, and I said yes or no, that's it, and then start talking over it. That just doesn't look good, right? And as a man, you shouldn't talk to a woman like that. So again, if she's being called as an expert witness, he's respecting the process and he's letting her speak. She again did her own damage. So let's move on from that. Amber Heard took the stand. Immediately, I noticed that when they do the dramatization of this trial in movie form, there's no better actress to play Amber Heard than Julia Stiles. She looks just like her. She looks just like Julia Stiles, just like Ben Chu looks like Fix-It Felix. I'm finding references all over this case. Amber Heard takes the stage, hair kind of covered by the face, still got the dark makeup under the eyes to look like bruises, and she starts talking. Now, I had never really heard Amber Heard speak before. I was intentionally not watching interviews with her in it and stuff. She's got a deeper voice than I kind of expected. She has more of a more of a masculine tone and cadence to her voice when she talks. So that was interesting. That right there, I wasn't expecting. I was expecting a little more of this and a little more Callie vibe from her. Didn't get that. She starts by talking about how she grew up breaking horses. Essentially, if you don't know what that is, that means a horse that does not want to be ridden or rode, and it's a wild horse or whatever. It's not domesticated. They will put someone on the back of that thing to piss it off to the point where it finally gives up and it tames. That's what she apparently did with her father, who not only broke horses, but I don't know, someone said something about dogfighting. I didn't see that. But he did like general construction. He did like landscaping. He did all kinds of stuff. She tried to sell the narrative that she was this blue-collar, hard-working, tough girl who was used to getting her ass beat by horses, and that made her tough. She didn't speak negatively about her parents, which was odd because all throughout this trial, we've heard how the mental health professionals talked about the abuse that she suffered at the hands of her parents. And then they got, with Dr. Hughes, they got into PTSD. And does Amber Heard have PTSD? And was she feigning the symptoms? Let's talk about that real quick. I am 100% disabled through the VA with PTSD, and I can tell you what people act like when they try to pretend that they have PTSD. They will oftentimes say things or make references in their lives like things they've seen in movies, like I have flashbacks and I don't know where I am, and the disassociation and the things that can easily be picked up on. And for someone who has any sort of creativity in them, you can take the stereotypical things of PTSD and you can create a narrative, right? So Amber Heard starts speaking about herself and her upbringing. It was pretty bland, wasn't a whole lot to it. And then out of nowhere, she's talking about Johnny Depp and hers, how they met on the set of the Rum Diaries. And Elaine just asked this question randomly, like, how did you guys meet on the set of the Rum Diary? And she talks about this interaction that they had inside of Johnny Depp's trailer, where he called her into the trailer to talk about something. She came in a robe. She said she was doing a scene as if she was dressed from the 50s, and she had a robe covering like undergarments that you would have wore at the time. And said after a very cordial and nice meeting between the two of them, where they sat and listened to music, and I think they said drank wine and smoked cigarettes like she did in every one of their early meetings, as she turned to walk out of the trailer, Johnny Depp took his foot and lifted it up the back of her robe, almost like you'd be checking her out or something, to be like, or something like that. Didn't say he whistled at her, but said he lifted it up and then kind of playfully pushed her on the couch and said, yum, or something like that, Okay, they shared a kiss in a scene the day prior, she said, that felt more than like a professional kiss because Elaine asked, did Depp use tongue? She said yes. I think that Amber Heard was trying to imply that Johnny Depp was grooming her, was an older gentleman in Hollywood grooming a younger actress, because she kept saying how he kept making these moves, even though they were both known to be in relationships with other people, and she acted like she just could not fathom how this was happening. She had no idea why he would be making these sudden advances onto her, right? So does the foot thing. She leaves because she saw it as playful, but she didn't understand. She was intimidated by it. And then she points out that when they meet after that, he invites her to come up to his hotel room a few times or come grab wine and lunch with him and a director named Bruce, who was directing the Rum Diaries. And then she just says how each time she would show up, he would say how Bruce, the director, wasn't going to be there, implying that he was doing some type of Harvey Weinstein type shit. Be like, hey, come meet with me and the director so we can further your career or do this PR run or whatever we're about to do. Oh, whoopsie, he's not going to show up. Guess it's just you and I drinking wine together now. Whoopsie. And, come on, man. Miss me with all this shit. It's the same, come on. Come on. You can say that things happened a certain way. People with a brain in their head and with common sense who have been out in the real world and have been on dates and have asked people to come back to a room for a drink or whatever. It's like, yo, there's a balance that's constantly happening with the chemistry between you two. And unless you're an absolute monster like Harvey Weinstein is, you're not just asking a girl to come up to your room to drink wine and she's just like, I don't know why he would be doing this. Let me just go up here and investigate and see why he would want me to come up to his room and drink wine. And then if that was the case and you thought you were going up there to meet with two people and one of those people didn't show up and you were uncomfortable, you would remove yourself from that situation and be like, I don't know about all this. I think I got something else I got to do real quick. And you would get away from it if you were uncomfortable, right? Now, I'm not saying that always happens. I'm not discrediting anything that happened to a Weinstein victim. I understand things do happen, but we don't see and we don't know Johnny Depp to be that type of person at this time. So she's saying, essentially trying to imply that he groomed her and that he was sending her a bunch of gifts, lavish gifts that she didn't necessarily appreciate or approve of, one of which being a horse, saying what a big deal it was that he bought her a horse even though she was raised riding horses and, to someone that had money and could give someone their childhood dream of owning a horse if that's what she wanted. That's what he did. And she acted like it was this huge inconvenience. Like, I don't have anywhere to put a horse and I don't know what to do with this thing. And it was a horse. Like, I couldn't believe it. Guys, she posts pictures all the time on her Instagram of her being on horses. She loves them. She loves horses. The picture that she has most recent of her on a horse says "My Happy Place" on it. So it's like, yeah, he bought you a horse, you spoiled brat. What are you talking about? And then she tells this terrible story, and we'll get to the times of her saying he struck her. But I want to talk about the story with the dogs hanging out the window. She tells this random story of them driving down the road, and he's late to a movie set, and he just randomly grabs their two teacup Yorkie dogs, or one of them, and holds it out the window and starts howling. And she's trying to imply that he's doing this in a threatening manner, like he's going to drop the dog, and says everyone in the car freezes in panic, not knowing what's going to happen. She has a video on her Instagram of her holding her dog out the window and acting, showing that the dogs love it. Now, I'm not saying you should hold your dog out a window, but we all have seen dogs sit up on windows and let that wind hit their face. Again, I'm not saying you should grab your small dog and hold it out a window. But I am saying, yes, do we notice how she's taking these things that happen or maybe not happen at all, but maybe if there is some semblance of truth to them, she's spinning them to make them sound like he's a monster. Oh my God, he bought me a horse. This fucking guy buying me a horse to try to get me to sleep with him. Like, wait, what? He bought you a horse because you like horses. And you guys were dating, and he thought you would like to have a horse, and he involved your father, who connects you to your love of horses, and he helped your father get you the horse that he thought you would want, and then figured out all the necessities of taking care of that horse and handled it for you. And then now you're trying to make him out to be a monster for taking this small dog and holding it, she says, out the window. But that could have just been he was holding the dog up to let the dog get some air, and he was going, just being silly or something. What are we talking about? So all of the sudden, when they're talking about how they met and then when they started dating, Elaine asks Amber Heard, do you remember the first time Johnny Depp struck you? And she said yes. And they're talking about a time where Johnny Depp was in the house, and apparently they were there drinking wine, smoking cigarettes, listening to music. And she, after months of dating Johnny Depp, looks at him and notices a tattoo on his arm, the infamous Winona Forever tattoo, which he had since covered, and it said Wino Forever, which he explained during the trial while he did that. It was ironic. He didn't want to have Winona's name on his arm anymore. He said he did that to appease Amber Heard. She said she saw this tattoo, didn't know what it was, asks about it, and he goes, huh, and kind of laughs about it. And then open hand smacks her in the face for laughing and says that she's kind of down. I don't know if it was crouched down or whatever. And she says herself that she was disassociating, that she didn't even pay attention to what was going on, but she hyper-focused into how dirty the floor was, and she had never noticed how dirty the rug was before. So here's where we talk about feigning and PTSD. You're not going to say, I disassociated. Most people with PTSD and stuff, they don't know what disassociation is and what that is and what they're experiencing until a professional tells you about it. You just go, I have no idea what happened. This event happened, and I kind of locked into my own head in this thought process, and I didn't realize that minutes had passed and a big chunk of time and events were going on, and I was locked into this thing. Now, I'm not saying she has to articulate it perfect for it to be legitimate, but I am saying she knows what to say. She keeps trying to imply, when these things happen, I just disassociate and I lose gaps of time and stuff like this. It's like, but you remember that he held a dog up, and you remember saying that, and we'll get to this, that he just randomly open hand slapped you 3 times for laughing at a tattoo that you don't remember seeing over the last few months when you guys have been intimate together and things like that. And it's a tattoo on the prominent part of his arm. If I had a tattoo right here and I was dating someone for a few months, I think you would have seen this tattoo. You would have known what it said, or you would have had some idea of what was on my body. And if, sure, you may not ask about every one of my tattoos or something, but you're going to, hey, what's that? You would gain an idea if there was some sensitivity around the subject. So him having a tattoo that says Wino forever when he clearly has an ex, his name's Winona, a very famous one. That was the other thing. She tried to act like, yeah, I knew who Johnny Depp was, but I wasn't a fan of him. I didn't really know much about him. Please. You don't know who Johnny Depp is? You don't know who Edward Scissorhands is? You don't know who the Mad Hatter is? You're claiming you have this vast knowledge of fine novels and arts and music and all these things that's kind of off-grid, alt, kind of darker authors and stuff that people wouldn't usually know about. But you don't know who Johnny Depp is? You don't really know who he is all that much. You just kind of know who he is. Bitch, please. Miss me. Here's the thing. Amber Heard is so clearly lying. She's taking all the stories that Johnny Depp has told, and she's just telling them as if they happened to her. And she's adding spice on different things. When she told the story of the sexual violence situation, where she claimed that Johnny was they were all taking MDMA, and he got pissed that he couldn't find his coke, so he took her in another room, ripped her dress off, was acting like he was kind of patting her down, strip searching her, ripped her dress, and then ripped her underwear to do a cavity search like we talked about yesterday, and is claiming that this just randomly burst forth from Johnny Depp at a random moment. Just for asking about a tattoo that you claim you've never seen over months of dating him, he just randomly triple slapped you. For you asking, what is that tattoo? Him saying, Wino forever, you going, and him slapping you saying, bitch, you think that's funny? So again, you're painting Johnny Depp out to be this explosive, angry guy that all the evidence shows he's not, but you are. And not only you are to him, but you are to everyone else in your life, including and up to the partners you had before him, who you're towing a very fine line right now to not say too much about, because you're very close to opening a door to allow more evidence in that would show you've had domestic abuse charges brought against you, or claims brought against you as well from your past relationships. So she's a terrible actress, right? When she's telling these stories of her sexual violence allegations, and she's trying to act like she just can't hold it together. She's letting her face get all crumpled up, but not a tear, nothing. This is how you know when someone's lying for sure. They have a key phrase that they stick to. When they get lost, they have to go back to their key phrase. Amber Heard's key phrase is, I will never forget this. You'll never forget this. She was saying, I'll never forget that he told me. I will never forget this moment. This is the moment where apparently it was on the island when he was drinking and he had relapsed, and the kids got all upset, and Lily Rose, his daughter, asked to be flown off the island, and Amber Heard went with him, but his son Jack stayed back. And apparently during that whole debacle, she's claiming that he was a drunken, hysterical mess, and she's the one who had to save Lily Rose from the situation, because it was so toxic or whatever. When Lily Rose asked to leave the island for whatever her reason was, she keeps just implying that Johnny Depp is always the reason for these problems when she doesn't have facts. They're not talking to Lily Rose, and I think everything that we've seen, Lily Rose is not a fan of Amber Heard, and she does believe that she's quite manipulative. So again, just because his kid left an island, and there have been few pieces of testimony that shows she did leave the island with Amber Heard, that doesn't mean that everything she's saying Johnny Depp did that led to her leaving is true. She just left the island. There's been so many pieces that are just so clearly inflated that you can see she doesn't even have the actual recollection of, but she's just telling the story that she's told herself and told other people a lot of times. Well, when I did this happened. When I did this happened. When I did this happened. And she's just going through with completely no emotion tied to it, where when Johnny Depp was going through all this, he had to get some Kleenex, and he had to take a minute, and he had to kind of chill, and he was slow, and he was processing emotion as he's talking about this stuff. You can just tell she's not, because it's not genuine. It's not real. She's not talking about things that actually happened to her. You can tell. She's just, and again, the sporadicness of it. I asked about a tattoo. He told me what it was. I chuckled a little. He triple slapped me. I'm taking MDMA with someone. He doesn't know where his coke is. Now his fingers are inside me. What? And then she talks about, there's a picture where she's sending a picture to her mom where she's up like this and there's a bruise on her arm. And they say, how did you get the bruise on her arm? And she goes, well, Johnny came in super pissed. Or no, I think again, she said, we were just chilling, hanging out. All of a sudden, he accuses me of cheating on him. I say I'm not. My denying it pisses him off. He hits me in the face. She talks about like a vase or something being thrown. He hits me in the face, I think she said 2 or 3 times again, and that's how I got the bruise on my arm. And everyone in the thing's like, wait, what? You got accused of cheating, which we've seen throughout the trial you did with Elon Musk and James Franco. We've seen the video of the day Johnny Depp's mom died. Amber Heard was with James Franco in the ECB building, cuddling up in an elevator, so there's that. And she's denied adamantly that she would ever be so bold as to ever think about cheating on Johnny Depp. She paints him out to be a grooming monster from the beginning, but then randomly throws in these cohorts of, I loved him so much, and this was like a love you've never known before. Bitch, pick a story. Pick a story and stick to it. You either love this man so much, and that's because he was a loving, genuinely loving man that caused you to fall so madly in love with him, and then he would turn into this violent, sporadic monster that you have no evidence of. No one's backing this story. No, actually, there's tons of evidence and testimony to say that you are the one who has done the things that you are accusing him of. And then, again, the moment we've all been waiting for, which is just when you get to see her tell this story herself. As a human being, you look at another human being and you can tell whether they're being genuine or not. Amber Heard is not being genuine. She's lying. And her attorneys are trying to help her lie by guiding her through this narrative that they're going to tell. They've got the young female attorney Velasquez, I believe is her name, who is doing all the objecting at this point. She's doing a great job keeping hearsay out of there, especially there towards the end when Lily Rose started to be mentioned. Kept a lot of hearsay from coming in, kept hearsay from coming in when it came to certain text messages and stuff. And we believe that she'll be the one doing cross. So tomorrow, day 15, we will be back. Amber Heard will be back on the trial. Guys, it's been working out so well that you guys are thumbs up in the video right there in the beginning. Hit that for me. Hit the subscription button. That way it'll turn gray. Then you won't have to see it red and in your face anymore. Hit the subscribe button. You'll see videos when we, put them up on the day. If you want to see them as soon as I drop them, hit the little bell. It'll tell you when we go live. Check out the Road to Redemption podcast.com for all the Mad Mental Designs merch and all podcast official merch. We will see you tomorrow, day 15. Amber Heard back on stand. Love you.